Hi, I'm Ewan.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is
Popcorn and Cumin, a transatlantic dive into film and media.
With a healthy side of unrelated nonsense. Ho ho hello and welcome to our new episode of Popcorn and Cumin, which is a Christmas themed episode, hence my very clever introductory sort of phrase.
Well, we will debate whether it is really Christmas themed.
Wow, that's mind blowing. I'm already confused on some level, but there's nothing new there. So we are here to discuss what is the true meaning of Christmas, on some level. But in the movie sense, what makes something a Christmas movie versus it not being a Christmas movie, and the best kind of case. What's when you have something in an essay and it's like a case
study?
Our case study in this instance is maybe one of the great movies of our time.
One of the great movies of our time.
Yeah, not just great, but like within the sphere of great movies, it's in the top, like sort of upper echelon.
What about great? What's the maximum number of greats a movie
I don't like saying
have?
a word more than 2 times in a row. It becomes redundant, I think.
All right, so it's the maximum number of greats according to you.
And the great movie that we're talking about is Die Hard, which we watched last night. So this is fresh popcorn and cumin straight from the stove top. Sarah watched it for the first time last night. Yeah. And she was blown away. She thought, this is way better than I expected.
All right, let's not put words into my mouth.
But of course, Die Hard is set at Christmas, and for that reason, it is often classified as a Christmas movie, and that becomes a bit of a raging debate because I think some people think, well, just because something's set at Christmas when most of the movie is about killing terrorists, is that really a Christmassy feeling? And that's something we'll discuss. And then we'll maybe move on to other films that are maybe here or there, or what we think
or everywhere.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, we have to do our classic section. What do you call it?
Cross-border factoids.
Our cross-border factoids.
Do you think factoid is actually a word? I don't think that's a euphemism. Like, I think must have heard it somewhere, but it seems like a totally redundant. It's just like
it sounds like something that would be made up in the Wizard of Oz dictionary. So for that reason, I like it. For
anyone who, and are very loyal fans who just saw the Wicked episode come out and thought, oh my, I just need to listen to that. But you didn't take the time to be sort of suckered in by the description that we wrote. You should look at that because I thought it was quite fine work.
Yes, a lot of effort and research was put into that description. So go back and read it. Also, if you notice that my voice sounds gravelly and sexy, it is because I have come down with a cold.
Aww.
So just a warning if I break into coughing and hacking for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, Sarah left this morning. We're recording on a Monday, so we just had a weekend of rest and recovery. Sarah left this morning to go to work, and all was fine, all was well in Popcorn and Cumin HQ, and then Sarah came back. I was in the process of starting work myself. I work remotely. And unbeknownst to me, someone came back trying to break down the door, coughing and spluttering. I thought we were under a real attack. I thought we were having to bunker down here at the studio, and I was preparing to, much like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, start thinking there's some sort of home invasion going on. But it was actually just Sarah coming home from being ill, unfortunately.
It was not a Home Alone robbery situation.
Yeah.
Okay, but cross-border factoids. So, for our new listeners, I am from California, Ewan is from Scotland, and each episode we like to start by giving a difference we have noticed in traveling between the USA and the UK. So, this week, I tried to do one that's sort of Christmas themed, and something that I have noticed in speaking to many fellow British friends, well, not fellow,
my fellow,
Ewan's fellow British friends, is that a common thing that happens around this time of year is that schools put on nativity plays, which, at least where I'm from, is not something that a school would do And in fact, especially in the town that I'm from, which is quite a liberal town, I think people would be quite appalled if the school decided to put on such a religious show and not force the kids to be in it, because I don't think they have to be in it, but encourage children to take part in a nativity show. So yeah, that's my difference, and we could go more into it.
There's nothing religious about learning the good Lord's gospel, Sarah.
Well, I'd like you to think on that sentence and decide if you still believe it. Generally, because the UK has more of an entrenchment of Christianity into their government and school system and such, which does happen in the US, of course, in some places, but we were supposedly founded on the principle of separating church and state and such.
Yeah.
So
how's that going for you?
Well, as I say, it's not a perfect system, but I would say we have fewer nativity plays, which I'm taking as a positive, although there are a lot of humorous situations that can arise from nativity plays, as we saw in the British Christmas movie called Nativity! !
Yeah. And I have a difference that I just kind of thought of while we've been thinking about it, because one of the things that we were going to maybe do for this episode was a kind of British versus American Christmas movie idea. Of course, last year we kind of pitted Christmas movies against each other, but there was no kind of jurisdictional element to that. And when I thought, Sarah came up with the idea, and I thought, that's a good idea. And then I started looking into what British Christmas movies there were, and I was like, this is not a side that I want to root for, really. And I was worried that if we were going to discuss it, it was going to be Sarah talking about how great American Christmas movies were, and me agreeing, and then pitching some British Christmas movies that Sarah probably likes more than me. So.
Yeah, exactly. I like Love Actually.
Yeah, so
mostly.
The ones that I could think of were, so I guess how we were defining it were movies that were made like by a British studio or financed in the UK and everything, like, as opposed to a Hollywood movie, because there's, as we were discussing, a lot of Christmas Carol movies in particular. There's the Disney one, there's the Muppets one, and then there's a bunch of other older ones that are technically set in London, in Dickensian London, which is obviously a very something that invokes Christmas, I think, just because of Christmas Carol and how popular it is as a story. But I don't know if there's any really popular film adaptations of Christmas Carol that are actually British movies, because I love Christmas Carol, so that would have been up there. However, the things I'm left with...
Christmas Carol.
Yeah, I don't have time to say we got to get through this. So what I was left with was Love Actually, which was actually a finalist in our... that was a very confusing joke.
It was. I was confused.
A finalist in our bracket last year and lost to Elf, I think, which obviously is an American movie. But I think Love Actually is good. I don't think it's amazing or anything, but it's as a Christmas movie, it's all right. It wouldn't have been in my probably top 8, so... if that's the best thing that the UK's got to offer, it's not great, in my opinion. And then the other ones that we could think of were like Nativity, as Sarah was just mentioning, which we did rewatch, and I was very hesitant to rewatch it because I thought this is not very good when I first watched it. And then we rewatched it and I thought it's okay. It's okay. It's still not great. And then we watched The Snowman, which was magical and wondrous and full of joy, but it's only 20 minutes long, so...
But we decided not to talk about that. And instead, we're moving on to talk about Die Hard.
Dun, dun, dun.
I watched Die Hard for the first time last night, and I was fully expecting, based on the description on Netflix, to just not like it. It said just terrorists attack a building, basically. And I was like, that sounds like the exact kind of movie I don't want to watch. But I did actually end up enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, it did commit the cardinal sin I suppose the cardinal sin is a depiction of a dog being killed in a movie. But the worst thing to happen, other than that, is a depiction of someone being graphically shot in the head. And that did happen. And Sarah was annoyed at me for not warning her about it. But I didn't remember that happened, so... Yeah,
I turned my head away, but not quick enough. I quite liked Alan Rickman as the villain in this. I would say, aside from his quite inconsistent accent.
Yeah, it is kind of difficult because he does have just like a weird voice for like a British person, like all of his Snapeisms, but those
Just
are
for
like,
any person, really.
yeah, but I don't know if they were like, well, those kind of weird inflections make you sound kind of German.
Yeah.
And then he's like, should I do a German accent? And they're like, no.
But he does. Sometimes he does.
Yeah, yeah. And I think at one point he does speak in German as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, I have a conspiracy theory about this. I think that Gruber.
Yeah, Hans
Gruber.
Goofy Gruber.
I think Gruber is not actually German, but that they're pretending to be German to further kind of confuse people into thinking that they are just kind of, because they don't want people to know what their intentions are. They don't want them to know that they're here just to steal all this, whatever, the bonds or whatever. So I think that they just pretend to be German to mislead people, which is supported by, there's this scene when he tells Alan Rickman, Gruber, tells his henchman, his like dragon or something, I think he's called. He tells him in German, like shoot the glass or shoot the window or something. And then the henchman is like, what? And then he has to say it again in English.
Yeah, that's true. I was confused by that scene, and that would be a credible explanation as to what was going on there.
And I'm sticking with this conspiracy theory. However, people on the internet say they disagree with me because other people have brought this up. I thought of this theory first, I would like to say. I mean, not first, independently of other people, but...
I was going to say that there must have been a lot of discussion since yesterday when you first watched the movie to have come up with a theory for all these other people to have chimed in.
But people were saying that the dragon, the henchman guy, looks more confused because he doesn't understand why they would be shooting the glass because he doesn't know that Goober is barefoot.
Not Gruber.
Bruce Willis. I want to call... Oh, not Goober.
Yeah.
McClane.
Yeah, John McClane.
Which is very close to John McCain,
That's
just
what I was
realized.
Thinking, yeah.
That's weird.
It is weird, yeah. Because actually, when they first started saying his name McClane, I was like, isn't his name McCain? And then I was thinking about it, I was like, no, that's just a different man.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so anyway, so people were saying he just doesn't understand why they would shoot the glass, and then Alan Rickman repeats it in English for the benefit of the audience. But I'm sticking to I think that they're not actually German.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would work. It would make sense within the context of the plot on some level, although their grand plan does kind of turn into they're not expecting to actually have to, like, I don't think it would actually matter if people thought they were German or not. If they're
Well, then it would, like, mislead people. And it also would explain why Alan Rickman's accent is so bad or is so inconsistent. And one of the people on their team, the tech guy, is just straight up American.
Like, the Germans, they don't know how to work computers.
Yeah. So how do they assemble this ragtag bunch of villains? Like, where do they all come from? I don't know. I also think that just money isn't like very compelling motivation for a villain. I was more compelled when they were killing the CEO for being greedy or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was maybe a thing of its time where at that time there was a big concern around these kind of like terrorist groups or like mini militias and springing up around the place. And I like the kind of idea where they were actually kind of pretending to be a terrorist group so they can kind of it's an illusion that they're actually just trying to steal the money. Like they think they have the hostages and a list of demands, and that's what they tell the authorities. They're like, you have to free all these random people.
Yeah. Well, exactly. My theory fits with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just needed to say I needed to get my conspiracy out there and defend my man Alan, because he's a very good actor. He shouldn't be judged just based on his bad accent.
I think the general consensus is that people think his performance in it is very good.
Yeah.
Maybe a seminal role.
Was he in anything before that?
I feel like he was maybe more in like... he was in that Robin Hood movie. He plays the sheriff of Nottingham.
Men in Tights?
I can't remember if it's that one or if that's...
Is it a funny one or a serious one?
No, I think it's the serious one.
Okay. Yeah, my only other comments on the film was my only other negative... I do want to say that I overall liked it more than I thought I would. I quite liked when, I don't know why it tickled me so, but when Alan Rickman, when Gruber when he pretends to be a hostage and then...
You were really invested then.
Yeah, and then he has to follow McClane around still pretending to be a hostage. Like, to me, that was the most, like, that would be the most interesting dynamic to explore. And I wish that lasted, like, I wish that was most of the movie, was him, like, yeah, pretending to be a hostage, but then secretly trying to kill him. And then it was a little confusing.
How he works it out.
Yeah.
I think he's almost immediately suspicious of him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, like, why would some random guy be up there? I don't know. But yeah, you were shouting out loud. You're like, don't give him the gun, you idiot! Don't give him the gun.
Yeah. Well, then he proved me wrong. He was not so idiotic. Well, then I thought that he would have put something in it to make the gun basically explode. Like, you know, if you, I don't know if this actually works, but if you stuff the barrel or something and then it makes it like backfire.
Yeah, I think that would work with really old guns. I'm not sure about. Does that happen in Pirates of the Caribbean? Is that what you're thinking of?
I don't know. It happens in something. In Pirates of the Caribbean, their gunpowder gets wet and then none of their pistols work.
Right, okay. I don't remember.
That's in the big standoff, like the one in The Office. The like...
In which movie?
Oh, gosh. It's when they're all fighting over the chest. So is that the second one?
Yeah, it would have to be, yeah.
I think that's...
Dead Man's Chest.
Aye.
My thoughts on Die Hard, because I wasn't taking copious notes, but I just wanted to say that I think Die Hard is like one of the best action movies ever on some level.
Wow.
Like the premise is not it's super like interesting or whatever, but I think the characterization is really good. All of the like action set pieces are great. The sort of progression of Bruce Willis's character as he picks up more and more damage, and you kind of see how this like everyman police officer is like pretty competent and kind of thinks on the fly and stuff. I just think it's like quite compelling as a watch, especially. It was released in the late 80s, and during the 80s and late 70s you have a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone style action movies, which are super over the top, and I do like them as well, but it's kind of nice to, like, you can do a grounded action movie. I mean, it's not realistic because it's still, some of the stuff that he's doing is pretty crazy, like when he's swinging from the roof of the building with the fire hose. Sarah was not having that.
No, absolutely not. That wouldn't work.
But even then, like they create these like interesting set pieces where he's like he somehow like gets through that scene, but he's still connected to the hose and it's getting pulled out the window, and he's having to like think fast on how to not just like getting into the building, now getting sucked back out of it.
Yeah. For the most part, he maintained his injuries, except kind of when he gets shot in the shoulder. I think after that, he has free use of his shoulder with no consequences.
Yeah, well, I think the ability of action heroes to withstand gunfire throughout, it's kind of like in video games where people get shot and then you just wait a little bit and then you're back to normal.
Yeah. So what do you mean by it being grounded? Because there were also so many giant explosions. And part of me was thinking, how has it not collapsed after a whole story was basically blown up?
It's grounded in the sense that he sustains real injuries, where he, for instance, the scene you were talking about with the glass, after that, his feet are just like destroyed and he can't really walk anymore. And in other movies, I feel like if someone is around glass that shatters, they don't display any sort of, it doesn't have any repercussions. They just break the glass because it looks like interesting on film. But over the course, he gets more and more injured, and with the exception of when he gets shot in the shoulder and then immediately wins a fist fight after it, which seems a little bit ridiculous. The fact that he can even move his shoulder is probably the most ridiculous thing. But
yeah. And I said it's probably the adrenaline getting him through it. And then anytime I would point out an injury he should have maintained, then Ewan would just say, well, it's probably the adrenaline.
It's the perfect solution.
Yeah. The other thing I didn't really like was I quite liked his relationship with the police officer.
Oh yeah, Al, I think his name is.
Yeah, I liked their back and forth and how he helps McClane. He kind of talks him through it. I didn't appreciate that, and I knew it was going to happen, that the officer's kind of character growth and redemptive moment is him learning how to shoot people again. I'm like, is that really what we want? Is more cops being trigger happy? Great.
Yeah, I think especially his backstory in the movie and what he feels regretful for, and obviously you should feel regretful for this. he shoots a child while he's like in the line of duty. I'm sure I think he says that they had a gun, but maybe it wasn't a real gun or something. I don't know. But obviously, especially in the past couple of years from recording, I feel like that kind of element of it kind of hits a bit closer to home. Where you're like, yeah, a lot of people are killed by police. And it's a difficult job, but maybe a lot of them could have been avoided if, So it was harder to, I totally agree. Like, I feel like it was harder to feel empathetic. And then, it did feel a little bit trite and silly that one of the terrorists somehow survives right at the end. And then he gets this moment where he blows him away.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's a famous line from the movie that Sayers remembered.
It was. And I thought it would be a bigger moment. I thought it would be similar to the, like, say hello to my little friend. I thought it would be while he's blowing something up or something. But he kind of just says it as he's leaving a room or something. Yeah,
one-liners in action movies like that, again, more of a thing in, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone movies. There are still a couple in Die Hard. Like, when he's under a table and there's a guy on top of the table being like, next time you have a shot, be sure to take it.
Oh, yeah.
And then he shoots him like 10 times through the table and then he says, thanks for the advice.
Yeah. I thought that was good. I didn't think he needed to say thanks for the advice. I thought that was implied.
Yeah.
But I liked that little rebuttal.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things that kind of, I don't think dates it, but kind of marks it as a kind of not super serious, like gritty action movie. Like I feel like in a modern one where it is meant to be gritty or whatever, you could have that moment where the guy says that and then he just like looks and smirks at him after he's blown him away, you know? Mm-hmm. Instead of having him say a line. But, I mean, it's still kind of fun and silly.
Well, the other thing that made it unserious is the limousine driver.
Oh, yeah?
Like, I feel like he's basically just there for comedic relief to show him just being totally ignorant of what's happening.
Yeah, for most of it. I mean, he does have a couple things that he helps.
Well, at the very end, he just smashes someone.
Yeah, true.
In the parking lot.
Yeah. But his scenes were funny, I thought.
Yeah,
it was like a funny little premise.
I agree. Because at the end I was kind of thinking, what was the point of that character existing? But I was like, well, I did enjoy a lot of his little moments. Mm-hmm. Some nice relief from all of the blowing up and shooting things.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of what Sarah was calling him, the cocaine guy? Who I think was Alice.
Mm-hmm. I knew the moment they came in and he was on the cocaine, I said, this guy's gonna die. Cocaine Man is not making it through. And I was correct.
Did you think it would happen in that way where he arrogantly thinks he can negotiate with them and then...
I feel like it was very, kind of tech bro arrogance, which I thought was funny and very applicable to this day and age, I thought. So I was happy with that, other than how it happens.
Mm-hmm. I thought, again, that was a good scene in terms of, I think Bruce Willis's character immediately thinks Alice has told them who he is and therefore his relation to his wife. So obviously they do eventually find out that the reason John McClane is there is because it's the building or the office is his wife's place of work and it's their Christmas party. But yeah, that's why he's really worried in that scene, because he thinks Alice is just going to tell them everything and then that'll put his wife in danger.
All right, can we...
Yeah, we can move on to the Christmas aspects
great
of it.
Debate. So... Shall I start
Go ahead.
with
you can start with your initial arguments.
With my initial opinion. So I think that there are many elements that make up a Christmas movie.
Is there two schools of thought?
There's many schools of thought in this instance. First of all, taking place during wintertime, during the holiday season. I think that is a pretty key point. This one does fit that. That is a check mark. Second one is imagery, which I think also connects to it taking place in the time of year. But imagery such as snow, Santa things, Christmas trees, lights, any imagery that represents
Coldness.
the holiday season. Well, you can't feel cold.
Like penguins and...
Coldness like penguins?
Yeah, things associated with coldness and things being cold, like polar bears, penguins, icicles.
Yeah. People wearing sweaters to imply that it's cold.
Yeah. people shivering.
Yeah. People getting frostbite.
Although now the problem is, as I've thought previously, I have family in Australia, and for Christmas time for them is actually the middle of their summer.
Yeah.
So it's actually the hottest time of the year. And they go to like the beach on Christmas Day, which obviously to a Brit, you'd be a bit like, oh my God, I can't think of anything. Well, I mean, the beaches are nice. I suppose you just wouldn't go swimming, but...
Yeah. One year I spent Christmas in Australia, and one year I spent Christmas in Thailand, where it was quite warm and stuff. And it did, well, as someone who's used to it being, so colder and the imagery of snow, and not that I actually get snow during the holidays, but it did make it feel almost just less Christmassy, it being warm and sunny. Okay, so we've got time of year, we've got imagery. This movie does also have a lot of Christmas imagery. They have the Christmas party, the work Christmas party, so therefore there's lots of tinsels, there's trees. When Gruber kills the first person, he writes ho 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 on him.
It's not Gruber that does it.
Oh my gosh, no, McClane. When McClane kills the terrorist, he writes ho 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 on him.
And he's wearing a Santa hat.
So we have got the imagery. I'm going to give that a tick as well.
Christmas dialogue. Does that help?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of references to it being Christmas time.
Right.
Hans Gruber saying like, oh, it's the time for miracles and things like that.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that, babe. I think that fits more into theme, maybe.
Okay, I've jumped ahead.
So another thing which kind of, I think, fits into vibe is music. Mm-hmm. So Christmas music. I feel like that's kind of straightforward, which this one does have, but mainly just at the end. It has a recurring musical theme of... I don't know what the classical song is called, but it's the Yankee Doodle theme. So it's the like... It's like Cannonball number 5 or something.
There is actually a couple of Christmas songs that are played throughout, so here's a list of them. Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow. Jingle Bells is whistled by John McClane at one point. Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow.
Oh wait, maybe it's... Is it Ode to Joy?
Yeah, and then I think one of the two themes that Sarah is thinking of, there's the Brandenburg Concerto, which is by Johann Sebastian Bach, and then there's also Ode to Joy. It might be
Ode to Joy. I don't think that's a Christmas song. I don't associate that with Christmas.
Yeah, that's true.
And that one's the most... I noticed a Christmas song right at the end, which I think was Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow.
There's the Christmas rap song as well.
My mom is not a fan of that Christmas rap song.
Boo.
It was also in the Grinch, the new Grinch.
Oh yeah, I wasn't.
We just watched.
Blown away by that.
Yeah, we weren't. So anyway, there is Christmas music in it. So
that's a point. Nothing but points.
There's a tick for that. Another thing that Christmas movies, I think, need are themes of Christmas, which is like the meaning of Christmas, love, family, how that's more important than material things like money, which
so
I think...
you should spend your money on presents. That's not materialism.
But then you're giving it to someone else. Mm-hmm. It would be more if you were like, gimme the presents. That would be, that's bad.
What about gimme, A Man After Midnight?
That's good.
Oh.
That is in the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah. That's good.
So I think that this does actually kind of have some of those themes in it. Not really specifically related to Christmas.
There's themes of family.
Yeah, exactly. He
reconciles with his wife.
Yeah.
And he realizes that what he did wrong.
That what he did wrong?
Yeah.
What did he do wrong?
Well, he pushed her away because he didn't value her career in the same sense. Like, that's the reason why they're separated, is that she moves to LA with her kids. And I think he had a different idea of what their like married life is going to be like, and she couldn't get through to him that this was like important to do for her. So
yeah, and I think being close to death made him realize that her and the kids are one of the most important things.
Well, he also puts in
his life.
A lot of work to protect her.
Yeah.
Because he could have just tried to leave if he wanted.
How could he get out?
Gone downstairs and focused on getting out, I suppose.
Yeah, well, he's too noble for that. So that's another... I would tentatively give that another check. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, what is missing is, because it is a bloody action movie, is the Christmas cheer, the Christmas vibe. I think that when I watch a Christmas movie, I want to feel a warm, fuzzy feeling in my chest, which I can't say that I necessarily felt during this movie. So...
Was that a warm, spiky feeling? A cold, spiky feeling of
cold,
death?
yeah. So to me, that is an important part of something being a Christmas movie. And because that's missing, to me, that makes it not a Christmas movie. Now, like,
just because of that one part?
Yeah,
so
it has to have everything.
All right, okay.
I think the warm, fuzzy feeling is key.
Sarah's notes say what's missing, vibe, fuzzy feeling.
And I do want to, like, the filmmakers clearly made an effort to try to make this a Christmas movie with the setting, and more so, I would say, with kind of what Ewan was saying with the dialogue and them kind of seemingly out of nowhere referencing Christmas and like Christmas miracle and stuff, which felt out of place, but also I guess kind of made it more lighthearted. So there's clearly an effort there to make it a Christmas movie. And I think it's possible that this was intentional. And if it was, then I think these people are kind of genius to create...
Oh, that's high praise indeed.
All right. To create this debate that has been raging for, 20, 30 years now? Of whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie. And people will come back to it and watch it defiantly because they believe it's a Christmas movie. And I think that if they hadn't included the Christmas elements in it, I don't think it would be as prevalent and continue to be like a relevant movie today. Like, I think it was, if it was a
sorry, I was confused about what you were saying. I thought you were saying that if there wasn't the Christmas elements in it, people wouldn't be still debating if it was a Christmas movie.
Well, duh.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. No.
Like, people wouldn't be watching and stuff because there's still a conversation about it. And if that was purposeful, I think that those marketers were just very, very smart.
Yeah. I'm not sure I totally agree with that because I think it's like a very competently made and well done action movie. So I
haven't seen many action movies, so to me it just seemed like an action movie with some Christmas stuff in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think maybe it continues to hold relevance because of this debate. So, but I'm just not sure if they at the time would have necessarily had that precognition to think.
But why else would they include those little lines, and why would they put in such an effort?
Some people just like setting things at Christmas. Shane Black famously sets all of his movies at Christmas, even though they don't really have anything to do with Christmas. So The Nice Guys is an example of that. So is Iron Man 3, where they're both set at Christmas, but they don't really have any bearing on the plot. He just likes doing it.
But did they make such an effort to include Christmassy lines? And
not to the same extent, but I feel like it kind of like grounds it on some level. Like, I feel like it makes sense that people would be talking about Christmas if it's their like office Christmas party. Even the thieves, they might have families they go back to with their bearer buns in a Santa's sack to give to their kids. Put that under the tree.
Maybe. All right, my final point is that I think Christmas movie in itself is a genre. And I think that this movie's genre is action with some Christmas stuff in it. I don't think it's a Christmas movie with action stuff in it. It's an action movie with Christmas stuff in it.
But do you think Christmas movie is a genre in the same way? Because action's like a very catch-all, like wide genre. And obviously Christmas movies are more specific. But I feel like there's Christmas movies that we could talk and like list about, and I don't think they're going to come up. For instance, I know you're going to say that Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is a Christmas movie, and that is not, the genre cannot be Christmas movie.
Well, see, I think that's different. That is a movie that has Christmassy vibes, but I don't think I would say that is a Christmas movie. Like, I would watch it during Christmas time.
Okay.
But it's not like it's Elf. Or it's not like the genre and all of the themes entirely rely on Christmas as a concept.
True. Yeah.
All right.
I think I do like
rebut.
No, I do like your theory. I mean, I think it's your scientific breakdown makes sense, and I do like the idea that it has to have every single one of those elements in order to. What if it didn't have like Christmas songs during it? Would that be fine? Because I think you listed that as its own
I think
category.
some of the elements are more essential.
Mm-hmm. What's the most important element? Fuzzy feeling?
No, because like there are movies that make me have fuzzy feelings that aren't Christmas movies.
Yeah.
You can't just have one.
But like one coupled with fuzzy feeling, would that do it? Like Christmas songs plus fuzzy feeling equals Christmas movie?
Well, that's just a Christmas song then.
Because before you were saying they needed all the elements.
Christmas imagery and fuzzy feeling, maybe.
Okay. Well, I think Die Hard could be classed as a Christmas movie. I don't feel, super passionate that it needs to be, because I think it stands on its own 2 feet as a movie. But I do think the idea of it being a Christmas movie, I think people should be able to enjoy movies of varying different genres. Like some people are into romances, some people are into horror, some people are into action, some people are into everything. But I don't think it needs to be such an exclusive club. For instance, there's quite a lot of horror movies set at Christmas time. There's Black Christmas. There is now I can't think of any. There's Krampus. Gremlins, yeah. Not so much a horror movie. I mean, I think it maybe would be loosely classified as one, but it's not very scary.
But that's what because I think that's the difference, is there's movies set at Christmas and there's Christmas movies.
Well, I would say Gremlins is a Christmas movie. I think it fits every element that you just described.
Does it give you a fuzzy feeling?
Yeah, because it's totally not taken seriously. Die Hard's like taking itself a bit more seriously, I think.
Yeah, maybe too seriously.
Yeah, but the Gremlins are like getting up to all sorts of mischief. They're kind of like the Minions.
Yeah. Oh, which kind of reminds me, I forgot to mention earlier that another pointing it towards a Christmas movie is it did feel sometimes a bit like Home Alone, but with higher stakes.
Yeah.
Like he's setting booby traps for the bad guys and running around the empty parts of the building and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Home Alone would be part of a subgenre of movies called home invasion movies. The first Purge is one of those.
Purge?
Yeah.
You're putting Purge and Home Alone in the same category.
Yeah, they're similar in the way they play out. And probably Die Hard, I mean, it's not a home that's being invaded, but it's kind of like you're defending your abode or whatever. So it is similar in that way, yeah. And also set it at Christmas. So if Home Alone's a Christmas movie, then maybe Die Hard also has to be. You can't have one without the other.
I definitely got more fuzzy feelings in Home Alone.
Yeah, there's some quite horrifying things that happen in Home Alone as well. There's Piers Morgan, the pigeon lady in Home Alone 2. Trump's in number 2.
Well, that immediately changes it to a horror movie.
Kevin almost kills someone about 6 times by throwing a brick at their head.
Yeah.
He sets someone on fire.
Yeah, some of the parts always do make me, like when he steps on the ornaments, that always makes me cringe, just like how McClane steps on the glass.
Yeah, true. Where do you think they learned it all?
Yeah.
So I think, Die Hard, apart from, I guess, the fuzzy feeling, which is obviously totally subjective, which is then why it becomes difficult to really classify anything objectively, if that's, because the fuzzy feeling, that's only going to impact some people, because everything's so subjective. Like that, I feel like if you don't like a movie, you won't get the fuzzy feeling. But then does that make it not a Christmas movie?
Yeah, you probably wouldn't get the fuzzy feeling for any of the Christmas romances, the Hallmark
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some of them are better than others. Well, what about Stay Frosty? Is that what you just watched?
Hot Frosty.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yeah, Hot Frosty was very bad.
But is that not a Christmas movie because there was no fuzzy feeling?
That is a good point. And also there's a lot of Christmas romances, which then kind of nullifies the genre point, because I feel like those are still Christmas movies, but are they primarily romances? Or are they primarily Christmas movies maybe they're primarily Christmas movies with romance?
I think a lot of romance movies are actually they just cram Christmas into it because it fits, like, people will be like, oh, this has a Christmassy aesthetic to it, I'm more likely to watch the movie. Yeah. But there's no actual creative...
But it's because people want that, they're craving that warm, fuzzy feeling.
Yeah, but they're trying to manufacture it by just constructing a story.
Everything's trying to manufacture it.
No, Die Hard isn't manufacturing
You say
anything.
you're trying to manufacture it by constructing story. That's what film is.
But it's a less organic place where the story comes from. It's like, I need to set a movie at Christmas time, and romance isn't very hard to do, and people will eat it up, you know? Good romance is hard to do.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's maybe similar to action.
Yeah.
Good action is hard to do because action movies suck.
Yeah. Well, I don't agree.
You
with
agreed.
That. Yeah, I was more of a yeah in terms of I was pondering what you were saying before that. Well, for instance, so I feel like when Harry Met Sally end at Christmas or does it end at New Year's? I mean, if it ends on New Year's, then they would have had to have passed Christmas, and that would give you a fuzzy feeling.
I think Sleepless in Seattle is sometimes falls into the Christmas genre, which is a similar vibe to When Harry Met Sally.
Mm-hmm. So as a sort of thought experiment before, I opened up my Letterboxd account and filtered a big list of Christmas movies by the ones I'd watched just to see what, like, I could then be like, do I think that's a Christmas movie or not? And some of the things that came up were Mean Girls the Musical, which I guess there is the
sexy Santa dance.
Yeah. Platoon, Oliver Stone's Best Picture winning war movie about Vietnam, which I have no idea why anyone's classed that as a Christmas movie.
What about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? That has no elements of Christmas in it.
Yeah, I don't know. But then you do see stuff like The Holdovers.
Oppenheimer? What is this list you're looking at?
I don't know. Well, when I was at the bottom of the list, I just saw Midsommar, actually.
Absolutely not. That... Oh my gosh, if ever anything was the opposite of a warm, fuzzy feeling, it would be Midsummer. Yeah. And it's midsummer. It's as far away from as possible from Christmas time and from being a Christmas movie.
I don't really get that. Maybe the opening is at Christmas or something.
No. Oh, wait, maybe.
Yeah.
I think
this is maybe a bad list.
Yeah. Well, what I had proposed earlier is that if the movie people are the ones who are able to put in their metadata, as it is with the publishing industry, then maybe around Christmas time, they just add the word Christmas to their metadata to make their movies come up when people are looking for Christmas movies.
Okay. What do you think about my theory that Indiana Jones is a Christmas movie? Because it's always on UK TV around Christmas time for some reason.
Well...
And that gives me a very warm, fuzzy feeling.
Well,
it's so nostalgic.
Yeah. Here's the thing. In my opinion, no, I don't think that is a Christmas movie. But I also think that Christmas movies... Because if you watch that movie around Christmas every year... Then maybe you associate that with Christmas, and then maybe for you that would be a Christmas movie.
Yeah, maybe a Christmas movie is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, the eye of the eye. What were you gonna say?
I don't know. I was my head's gone on some level. I couldn't handle it when you started slagging off Die Hard.
No, I told you I thought it was all right.
You said if it wasn't Christmassy, it wouldn't be remembered, basically.
Well, that's because I don't really watch action movies. So my assumption is that most action movies are quite similar.
You know, it was nominated for 4 Oscars.
For what?
All technical things. But
yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, it had as many explosions as I was expecting from...
No More, No Less.
No More, No Less. There were, in my opinion, maybe too many explosions, which made it more unrealistic.
I'm more of the opinion that you can never have too many explosions.
Well, exactly. It did feel...
You can only have too few.
In perhaps a stereotypical way, it felt very, very boy-coded.
There's not many female characters.
Well, exactly. And I was pretty hopeful. I was hopeful for the wife that she would play a part in defeating the evil guys, but really all she does is get taken by them and then, scream.
She does stand up to them, though.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's why I was hopeful that I think that she needed to have a moment of action as well.
Yeah. I do agree. I feel like if they were making that again now, maybe they would think that we need to give her more to do.
Yeah, and she's the only woman with any lines or anything in it.
Yeah. No, there's the pregnant lady as well. She also has, I think, one line.
Oh, and her friend is panicking and telling them where they took the wife. Mm-hmm. When he takes them all up on the roof and then he just starts shooting. That was weird.
Yeah.
I was very confused during that scene.
He's trying to scare them down to the floor. There's a lot of shooting guns into the air to get people to panic and move around like sheep, I guess.
Yeah. Just get a sheepdog in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it's okay for you to hold Indiana Jones in your heart as a Christmas movie.
Do you have any movies like that you'd associate as being Christmassy, even though they maybe don't have the obvious Christmas elements?
Well, I think the movies that we usually watch... I mean, maybe Harry Potter, because that would always be on ABC during the holidays, so...
But they do have scenes set at Christmas.
Yeah, so those have further arguments for them actually being a Christmas movie. For some reason, in my mind, I want to say The Sound of Music, but it's not like we watch that every year during Christmas, but for some reason, maybe it's the warm...
Yeah, kind of like old-timey movie musicals, again, kind of like Indiana Jones, would always just come on like British TV around Christmas time. So like Oliver is one, Sound of Music is another.
I thought you were somehow going to compare the themes of old-timey musicals and Indiana Jones. I was like, how are you relating these two things? But they just come on.
Yeah, and like so do like just old movies that aren't musicals. So like Spartacus, I remember was on last Christmas. I was just like flicking through the channels and we're just in the middle of Spartacus.
Hear me out. What if these movies are on all the time, but you're never flipping through TV channels until you're home for Christmas, and that's the only time you see them?
You raise a good point, because I do not look at TV ever apart from it when I'm at home. That is true. They could be being played every day of the year. I just don't know about
Something's got to be played.
Yeah, that's very true. What about The Northman? Do you think that's a Christmas movie? There's a lot of scenes set in the snow.
No. There's no Christmas imagery. There's no Christmas songs. There's no fuzzy feeling. There is only disturbed feeling.
Yeah. That came to my mind because it was on in a hotel room that I was in the other day. And I was flicking through the channels and I was like, I'll settle for this.
All right. So in conclusion, my personal feeling in my heart and soul, I don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop you from thinking, Ewan, and all you listeners who believe in your heart that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, that's okay. I'll allow it.
Do you think maybe if you were to watch it again and then kind of establish more of an ongoing relationship with it, then maybe it could earn its way towards being that? Because when I was watching it, I think I've only seen it 2 or 3 times. And I was like getting to bits where I was like, oh, this is the bit where he shoots that guy through the desk. And then he says, or this is the bit where he like meets Gruber or whatever, and then you start like looking forward to little scenes in it or whatever. Then that's when I was kind of getting like a little bit of a fuzzy feeling, as you say.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that I would personally maybe ever develop that fuzzy feeling with this film. Not because I liked it, but it's again just very boy coded, and I don't think that it resonated with me like it might have for you.
Do you think in the future something like Wicked could be a Christmas movie because it was released around Christmas time? Now I know obviously it has like the witchy stuff, which you'd say would be more Halloween, but I think that is like one thing that maybe people would develop associations, like I was saying about Indiana Jones with it, because it's on at Christmas. Like I have that weird like association with it. But if something actually released around Christmas,
well, a lot of big blockbuster family movies are released around Christmas because it's a thing that people go to the movies for Christmas, which sucked as someone who worked at a movie theater because they make us work on Christmas because people come in with their families on Christmas Day.
How many times did you have to do that?
Well,
I never did it. I didn't actually ever do it.
I would actually usually only work during the summer, and then the one time when I would have worked during Christmas, I quit right before the holiday season, and they were really upset about it.
Yeah, I'm sure your co-workers were happy with you.
Well, I mean, we would get paid time and a half for coming in on holidays.
You can't be paid, time with your family around Christmas is priceless,
Exactly. No, I think it's horrible. It's the same with, how people in grocery stores and and then it's the classic thing where the customer comes in and says, "Oh, they're making you work on Christmas?" And it's like, "Yeah, because of you, asshole." That's how I felt at the movie. I mean, the only time I had to work during a holiday was like 4th of July and some of the what you would call bank holidays, like Memorial Day or
Soldiers Day or whatever, Veterans Day or something.
Which then I was kind of like, all right, well, this is actually kind of nice because I'm getting paid time and a half and I don't really care about this holiday. So, because we're open every day of the year. Well, actually, the theater I worked at is now permanently closed, so that's no longer true.
Yeah. Hope they didn't sign any contracts with that in there. They'll get sued.
Yeah.
I actually checked Wicked's box office today to see how it was doing, and it has made, I think, almost $500 million now, which was pretty good. Hey. And then I looked, and Moana 2 has already made more than it. And I sort of put my head in my hands.
I mean, I love Moana.
Shook my head in disgust.
That makes me sad. Well, speaking of which, as I think this episode is coming to a close, don't forget that Wicked Part 2.
Part 1, Part 2.
Which is going to be even more confusing for people.
What happens when we do Wicked Part 2, Part 1?
Wicked Part 2, Part 1, Wicked Part 2, Part 2.
Okay.
Or we could just do it in one episode.
That's not like us.
That's not like us. So watch the second half of the Wicked episode coming shortly. Will be our next episode. And if you haven't watched the first part, if you haven't listened to the first part of that, then you absolutely should, because I am obsessed with this movie, and it was a fun episode.
Yeah, it's been, you're obsessed with Die Hard?
No.
It's been very fun to, every time Sarah opens her phone, just hearing something from Wicked come blaring out of it, because our algorithm's been absolutely destroyed on whatever app that you choose.
Yeah, and for some reason now my TikTok thinks the only two things I want to watch are Wicked videos and videos of the Grinch at Universal Studios. Like the live Grinch interacting with people.
Maybe it's the green characters.
Yeah, it just thinks I'm into green.
Next it's going to start putting you in like Shrek videos, Kermit the Frog videos. Is there any other famous...
Let's not manifest that.
Who's another famous green character? Puff the Magic Dragon.
Is he green?
Yeah, he's not that famous though.
I've heard of him.
The Loch Ness Monster.
Don't think there's many TikTok videos about that. All right, well, does this conclude... our Christmas episode?
Sarah's bah humbugged the idea of Die Hard being a Christmas movie, but I will say that I think it should be if you want it to be.
Well, I agree with that.
I will say maybe just the last point is that I feel like you could watch Die Hard not around Christmas time. It would be fine. Whereas other Christmas movies, maybe you'd be like, I shouldn't watch this now.
Yeah, exactly. You know? That's what I mean.
It's not to feed my whole point.
It's not a Christmas movie first.
Yeah. Well, maybe I agree with that. I've been converted. We have to end before I'm fully converted.
Okay. Don't forget to follow our Instagram and TikTok, and more importantly,
rate the podcast.
And even more importantly,
download the podcast.
No.
Eat the daily
bowl of popcorn.
And season it with cumin.
And salt.
Yeah. And butter.
And have a happy holiday season.